Hello again, it's Helen, and with a bit of luck you've just been watching me work the wing on this lovely emperor dragonfly. I've been working the wing in this technique of honeycomb stitch, and if we were to work the lower wing on this lovely fellow here, we would do it in exactly the same way as I have just demonstrated, the only difference being that in your preparation you need to swing your underlying radial stitches around with the shape of the lower wing. Then you're simply going to stitch across those radial stitches brickwork fashion exactly the same way as we did up there, and you will create an effect as we have in the lower wing on this side. But I hear you say, what about that lovely colour on top? And this is where another little bit of magic comes in, because we're going to overlay the whole of our honeycomb technique with a blending filament. Now there are many blending filaments on the market, but the very best I think is the Kreinik range of blending filaments. This is the one that I call the rainbow effect. It's number 95. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a strand of this blending filament, and if you look at it very carefully you'll see that it actually has two filaments in it. It has a silky filament and also a cellophane filament. You're going to strip away the silky filament, which leaves you with just this cellophane. You're going to thread that cellophane just as if it was an ordinary thread onto your needle, and then you're going to lay it, stitch it right over the top of everything that you've just worked. So bring that stitch right down into the middle of the insect, take a nice long stitch over the top of everything else, and gradually then, leaving a gap of 1 millimetre or so between each stitch, you're going to fill in the wing. Now I tend to work this by going backwards and forwards up and down the wing rather than always working in the same direction, because this is quite a delicate effect. You want to leave as little of this cellophane thread on the back of your work as possible, because it is very easy to catch it on things, and so the less you leave on the back the better. But you can see now, as I've just put half a dozen or so of those stitches over the top of the underlying honeycomb stitch, what a beautiful effect that creates, just as if it was a real cellular wing on our dragonfly. If I move that a little bit, hopefully you can see that shine changing very slightly. So that's the magic of the dragonfly's wing, something that I've never shared before except in live class. And the honeycomb technique itself can be used in various different ways. We can use it again just straight onto the background fabric to create an effect like this. This again is worked in a Kreinik thread, this time a fine gold thread, and here I've used the radial stitches to suggest one side of the leaf, and then honeycombed it along the top here to give this sort of skeletal effect. Really a very lovely way of using the stitch. And you can get yet another effect by doing exactly that same thing here over the top of your underlying opus plumarium. Remember that opus plumarium simply means feather work, and I've described how to work that very, very clearly in my ebook, One Simple Stitch, and it's also described in all my new e-patterns, all of which are produced by Vivebooks, and which go along with the One Simple Stitch, although they all stand independently. So two different ways of using the honeycomb stitch on leaves. But back to our lovely dragonfly He really is my favourite, and I think you'll agree that that's a very, very magical effect. Join me again soon when we'll look at another technique. Bye for now.